Hey there, friends! Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
All right, welcome once again to the broadcast. It is time to talk about To The Point. And tonight on the discussion, we are tackling PTSD in children. And remember, I had mentioned that this topic has been brought about by the recent fires that have been reported in Kenyan boarding schools. Now, our guests are already in studio. Just on my far left, we have Martha Wanjau. Martha deals with children with disability. She will be telling us more about that. And we have Peter Kimani just right next to Martha. Peter is a counseling psychologist, and he will be helping us, of course, understand how these incidences of trauma affect these kids in the long run. Karibuni sana to studio. Now, let's just take a look at an overview of school fires this month recently. Now, there has been a surge of school fires across Kenya in September 2024, now with several dormitories being destroyed. Notable incidents include the fire at Hillside and Russia that claimed 21 lives and 27 others injured. And we have one reported today where 20 students have been injured in Katoloni Secondary School, that is in Machakos County. These students have been seriously injured, and the Ministry of Education has reported a significant increase in fires compared to the same period in 2023. The school fires are suspected to be linked to students' unrest. Now, emergency services have been deployed in multiple locations to manage the crises. Now, I'll just start with you, Martha, now that you are next to me.
Yes.
Would you feel confident enough to take your child back to school? Or rather, these parents who are witnessing such incidents, as a parent, do you think they're confident enough to take their children back to school?
I would say it's not easy, but it's doable, because life is not definite, and accidents, raising a child is not an easy thing. But when such a thing happens, it's really traumatizing on both the child and also the parent, because the confidence is taken away. But with time and with good handling, it is doable.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Peter, it's not only about these parents' confidence. There are parents who take their children to boarding school because they understand that this is an environment that is safer enough for learning. I'm a product of a primary and secondary boarding school myself.
Yeah.
And for me, it was perfect. I would not regret anything about it.
Yes.
But now for students and parents who know that this is a place of security and incidences like this are being reported are on the rise. As parents now, as a counseling psychologist, how does this affect these parents and students also in the long run?
Okay, thank you so much. I think there's something that Mother is pointing to, that generally in our country and in our society, people don't feel safe at all. Yes. And most of the expressions that are coming along is because people have a lot of questions. Even the ones that are very, very safe in school, they have now entered into a space of beginning to think about possibilities and uncertainties. So generally, most of the talk that is out there in the atmosphere is stemming from people speaking from a point of fear. And maybe some teachers can confirm about the many phone calls that are coming from parents, regularly checking on how they are doing, even those that have not been communicating to them as frequent as they are doing now. And that can communicate that generally they are communicating from a point of feeling unsafe. I've seen some communication even online, people saying that it's a high time that boarding schools should be abolished. So basically that is not maybe an opinion that they can really substantiate, but it's coming from a point of fear, because in one way or the other, people are dealing with all manner of feelings. And I believe that tonight we are going to look at the whole thing and see and have a proper understanding as to why people are maybe reacting the way they are reacting, or the reason as to why they could be feeling the way they are feeling. I like the discussion, and we are going to get into the depths of this.
Now that you've mentioned it, why are they reacting the way they're reacting? When we say we should ban boarding schools, this is not a solution to it.
Exactly.
So why are we reacting the way we are reacting?
I think people are operating from a point of trauma, a point of shock, an extreme shock, whereby, these are things that happen very suddenly. And for example, if someone is unwell and people begin to look at this person as the person wears out, and somehow they begin to internalize that soon we might lose this person. So when maybe a person dies through a prolonged illness, or maybe there were signs somewhere that things are not okay, there's a way that mentally people begin to prepare for such an eventuality. But in case of a fire, I mean, you just sent your child to school just the other day, you called maybe and you did some follow-up, and everybody, no one sees some of those things happening. But in a moment, you receive all manner of communication, you have lost this, you have lost this. I mean, it catches everybody unaware, and that's why I'm saying it appears as a shock, as a traumatic experience. And people are involved in these traumas at different levels. For example, the people that are involved directly, those are now the primary, at the primary level. But there are also other parties that receive the impact at other levels. For example, the secondary level, maybe someone who watched and witnessed someone being hurt, and another one was impacted maybe indirectly. Maybe there's a friend that has a child that went through this particular experience. So somehow people would be speaking at different levels. Yeah.
All right. Now, Martha, let me come to you. You deal with a lot of kids.
Yes.
Where you've mentioned that you rescue these kids to your place. Now, they're watching news and they're seeing news of fires increasing daily on TV. How are you communicating this to them, ensuring that their safety, just safe, making them feel safe in this environment that you have put for them?
One of the things, the reality is, as children are, different children react to different things according to the early socialization. And There are those that are emotionally stronger than others. But the exposure of such traumatic issues to children, it really has such an effect that really needs proper handling and very sensitive handling. One of the ways that we manage in dealing with the children in such situations, we use a lot of music to rub the bad memories. And play is one of the areas that you really engage in. You know, this play that is really focused on like change or dealing with a certain issue.
That is a drama, play, theater? When you say play?
No, sports like ball, play, play. Even just managing the hysteria and all the manner of discomforts. And especially for, I would personally, running Otugi Angels, I'm the founder of Otugi Angels, and which is also dealing with children with disabilities. We deal with a lot of children in such situations. And one of the things that I've realized is that a lot of natural therapies, for example, engaging in play, in music, in activities, like a way of removing the bad memories to now introducing to the ones that you really want to be able, but engaging them a lot in creating good memories is an easy way of dealing with the past. But again, it will keep recurring depending on the child. So there's a lot of, one of the things that I have realized is that you cannot deal with one person alone dealing with such children. You need a collective effort, maybe a psychiatrist, a psychologist, you need, the counselors, you need other stakeholders. And one of the things that I have really managed to deal with such cases is engaging people who are dealing with the diverse areas that need to be addressed. For example, just bringing in maybe the mentorship, the people that they can offload to, or engaging in activities that they can be able to speak out, even cooking as an activity, or even a sports event, or even games, just that. And then you are engaging in dialogue. A lot of that dialogue, they will be able to open up at their own pace, because you cannot force them to open up. You can only encourage circumstances and situations that will allow them speak out so that you are able to address the real issues. Because if you imagine, you might imagine the wrong thing. But maybe one thing has happened to one child, and something else has happened. There are different levels. Someone witnessed the fire, right? But someone else had. Maybe they were in a different dormitory. Those are different cases. Even dealing with them and handling them will be different because they are at different levels. So some of them you will need to really engage, and some will be able to get out of the situation with lesser efforts. But one thing for sure, is that not one person can manage that. So you need the collective efforts of the different professionals to be able to deal with such.
Peter, Martha has mentioned points here that I would want you to address. She says music, play, engaging in dialogue would help. Do you think this is a solution to these kids? Music, play, would they be remembering these traumatic experiences when you just give them music, you engage them in games, dialogue? What is the solution exactly?
Thank you. I think I may put something into perspective, and I really appreciate what Martha is talking about. Because really it's part of it. And there's always maybe what an individual will begin to try out as a way of helping the people that have gone through such matters. But we need to understand that when a traumatic experience takes place, it causes shock on people, whether at the primary or secondary or the tertiary level. And they begin now to process what has happened. In the actual sense, the trauma creates a crisis whereby people feel like this is a big threat, and they begin to maybe find themselves sinking into inability to cope. They feel like they have been paralyzed and they are left in a place of inaction, confusion, and not knowing exactly what's going on. And this crisis can last for weeks and for months. And in psychology, we say that if this crisis lasts between 4 and 6 weeks, and it is not handled, it's not addressed, if it goes beyond a month, now we begin to talk about this person has begun to sink into the PTSD now. If this post-traumatic stress disorder progresses and it hits 3 months and beyond, it now gets into another level of chronic PTSD. So right from the onset where something happens on the very day, now it begins to produce different kinds of people, and they require different ways of handling what has happened to them. And for example, what the ideal setup is that in the event that there is maybe a fire, like we have been seeing in our nation, there should be a quick response within 24 to 72 hours. There should be debriefing.
Do you think we have that at the moment in the country? That quick response?
Not really. It's a journey we are progressing towards that, because actually many people do not understand. You see, and what happens when maybe such an incident happens. The parents are quick to rush to the scene and rescue their children. Once they get there, even if you try to tell them, please wait, we are handling a matter, they will really insist, may I have my son back, may I have my daughter back. And as long as they have confirmed that their child is alive, they feel now we don't have maybe anything else to handle. So on the very least, what they want to hear is that, is my daughter alive? Is my son alive? Unfortunately, they'll be focusing on just one level of wellness, the physical wellness. But if you maybe begin to try and tell them, let's have a session of debriefing to the pupils or students that have been involved in this, they may not even agree, because at that point they are really in a rush to have them evacuated from that.
But you have to agree in such a moment when there's a fire, you are in panic mode. Would you need counseling if it were you in their shoes, Peter?
Really, that becomes the default. That becomes the default setting and the default reaction of many parents. In the actual sense, we should not actually have the debriefing in the same environment. So it's okay. Everybody will be quick to pick their child and maybe take them home. But most of the times, people think, let them rest first. And they think that that resting, that state of being inactive and just being left alone will somehow cure something within them, which really does not. So there is need that in as much as they may be removed from the same environment that created the trauma or the shock, there should be a follow-up, 24 to 72 hours. There should be debriefing. And if it has not been done within that particular time, it can still be done later. It can still be done later.
All right, Martha, you were nodding when Peter said there's no much response when incidents such as fire, when they occur in schools. Now, parents are also quick to rush to the scene, as Peter has mentioned. Do you think there is enough communication between parents and the schools when such incidences occur?
Personally, what I look into is that there's no knowledge about disaster management. And so we are dealing with, everybody is dealing with it the way they know it best. So as a parent, you cannot even wait for such a situation, for such an arrangement, because everybody, there's that connection, and everybody is you're looking for your own child, and you don't care about the rest at that moment. What you want is to hear about the safety of your child. So there are many things that happen in between. Bad things also, a lot of bad things happen. But it's because we lack the knowledge of how issues of disaster management. And so we respond to the situation according to the way we know best. And that also has a disadvantage in terms of everybody is dealing with the child in the best way they know how. And the best way they know how is not the right way for most of us. So we happen to also add on the fire, like we are adding on the burning effect. And even some of us will be shouting at the child and just even speaking about other things that they are not supposed to hear at that moment for their care. But I believe that with the experiences and with what is happening, maybe in future, the country may be able to prepare for such situations better.
Right.
Because now it's coming up many times. It's repeatedly happening. So there might be preparedness in the future.
Right. Yeah. Now, when mother says there are children who are emotionally stronger than the others, should even the strong get weak? But this is a child we're talking about.
Yeah.
These incidences, these traumas may come back at them in the future, or maybe in schools, in class, in their performance.
Yeah.
How do we address such incidences? Instead of ignoring that this one is emotionally stronger than this one, how do we address them?
In the actual sense, there's an assumption that is maybe out there in the society. Yeah. And if I take you back, maybe when someone has been involved in a road accident, of course, the first response is to have them rushed in a hospital, and they are checked to establish whether they have fractures or they have wounds and all that. But as soon as a doctor confirms that your body is intact, people rarely focus on other areas of your wellness. They really think about the whole issue that has disturbed you mentally and all that. So I can say that mental issues are least addressed. And mother has said that it begins with creation of awareness. Actually, anytime you want to address a problem in the society, it should begin at the point of creation of awareness. Because people really don't know that there are so many things that happen and they create an impact in the lives of people. So if we begin with the creation of awareness, we'll have moved a step forward in our readiness to handle some of these issues that come along. And Martha is putting it so well that people really follow the other progressive steps that are supposed to be there. But in the actual sense, everyone that was involved, whether directly, even if I use the word, even if a child or a learner has miraculously escaped, that is someone that is supposed to be helped, and that is someone that has gone through something. Can you imagine some of them were maybe rescuing others? And in that process of rescuing, there are so many images that they are dealing with. There are so many things that they are seeing. Another one could be maybe a teacher in the school, an administrator, or someone that has just come from maybe the neighborhood and has rushed to help. And nobody thinks that this person has been affected. But you can imagine really what it means to watch people burning to a point of now you cannot run and rescue one more. And you helplessly stand there and watch. And I've seen people celebrating, people saying this is a hero, he was able to do 1, 2, 3 things. And we just stop at seeing this person as a hero, and we forget that this person, the moment they went there, there are things they saw, and these are things that may create a negative impact in their lives even later. So actually, we are not supposed to just focus on who was maybe injured and who was burnt and who maybe survived 1, 2, 3 things. We need to really think about who was involved, a holistic approach. Because even the nurse or the one that came with the ambulance to rescue and all that, all those groups, including the policemen, all those groups have been touched in one way or the other. I'm saying either at the primary level, at secondary, or maybe the tertiary level. So the same thing about learners. In as much as we may say that this one was not affected, this one was actually sleeping, even the whole narrations, the horror narrations about what exactly happened is enough to create shock in the life of this person. And if everybody continues to make an assumption that this person is okay, simply because they escaped untouched, then this person begins to progress negatively towards now what we are talking about, the PTSD, or even at the chronic level. Yeah.
Hold on to that thought, Peter. Let's take this very short break. We're coming back with more on this conversation on PTSD in children. Don't go too far.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
All right, welcome back. You are watching To The Point, and tonight our conversation is based on PTSD in children. And let us just get to understand what PTSD really means. And the National Institute of Mental Health describes it as a disorder that develops in some people who have experienced a shocking, scary, or dangerous event. Now, let's take a look at PTSD in children after school fires versus other traumatic events. Now, we have fires in schools can be more emotionally devastating for children compared to other forms of trauma. That is according to WHO on trauma in children after disaster. Do you agree with that, Peter? Do you think fires in school can be more emotionally devastating for children compared to other forms of trauma?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that the occurrences of fire, not only to a child, even to a grown-up, it's quite devastating because it's life-threatening, really.
Sure.
It's life-threatening. It's something that causes a lot of pain at all levels. And naturally, there's this fear of fires. Even a small baby, the moment you light a matchstick and they play with it maybe one day and they are messed up, there is something that registers permanently in the mind of this person that this is such a dangerous thing. And also now from the religion and the religious circles, people are told that the eternal damnation will be being thrown in a lake of fire. So all those things now being in the minds of people, everybody dreads fire. That's why now it produces such a great impact. Yeah.
But when we're talking about fires being the most traumatic one, Martha, we have violent incidents. We also have natural disasters. How do you think these traumas compare?
Every trauma, every cause has a different impact. For example, I deal a lot with the children who are lost or children also who have been abandoned by their own parents. Like a child is expressing to you, like, my mother picked me up and threw me in the river. So that is also a traumatizing experience. And there's a lot that can help both sides. But in terms of fire, there's a lot of fear that comes by that. But with other traumas, it could be slow. By the time you start imagining, like, your parent abandoned you, your parent threw you in the river so that you may die, you have a lot of time internally processing that. And one of the things that we have really dealt with those issues is engaging in activities and not saying anything, but maybe a warm hug or a smile. We smile a lot because it is really healing. You know, just holding that child and assuring them that they are safe in your hands. You're not speaking, so you're not contributing to anything that is adding on that. You're waiting for them, you're giving them the opportunity to offload and tell you their story. So by the time they tell you their story, they feel safe in your hands and they can be able to comfortably tell their stories. You can be able to know how to address. And they will tell you the real thing. But by the time we come to that, we really engage in activities. For example, we just maybe switch on music and dance together. And also there is music that is good for a certain kind of targeted group. For example, if you're talking about children issues, and there's a song that will go by maybe the specific trauma. So you encourage that specific song as they are singing it and how it can be the message, if that message is helpful in the healing process. And music is one area that I have seen work a lot. And also engaging in activities like you can just encourage the child, we cook together. If it's in these cases of fire, I would really encourage every parent to really get close to the children, but don't force them to give out the stories. Just engage. You can take a walk, a nature walk with that child. You can engage in an activity, a common activity, like especially in most homes, what you are doing together is cooking, or an activity like washing. Let's engage and do it together. In the process, they will be able to know that I am part of this. They are feeling safer near you, and you are really reassuring, maybe through hugs, maybe just smiling at them and just giving them words of encouragement without discussing the actual thing. And let them bring out the story, because you don't even know what happened, because they experienced the fire at different levels. It's just creating the environment to allow them to speak out, so that you may pick the real thing and address the real issue. That is
now you see when you say somebody has been thrown in the dam, in the ocean, for them to die, it's so devastating. But do you agree that fires cause more emotional damage as compared to these other traumas? Because this one where you're thrown in the dam to die is quite tragic to me.
Yes, some of them are more tragic than others. You can also imagine an experience of being sodomized by your own parent. It's not easy. It's even worse, because this is the significant figure. The parent who you thought was your point of safety, and now becomes the most dangerous point. So what the difference is, the fears that are created are different. For example, you see the fire is prompt. Maybe for a sodomy case to happen, there has been like you could guess something is almost happening. But with something like fire, you know, it's just
unpredictable.
At once, and unpredictable. So you deal with it in a very different way. But every experience
is different.
And so handling it needs the traumatized person speak out. So it's about creating the environment for them to be able to speak out. And I'm saying and repeating it again and again, music is one of the most influential. It is very healing, it's very therapeutic, and it makes them feel comfortable very fast, and also they are able to speak out very fast. So music, engaging in music and dance is wonderful.
I think I'll also need to tap into the music part, because I'm actually hearing someone for the first time so passionate about music healing traumas, and I don't know what you say about that, Peter. But what really is the best way to approach to getting our children to express themselves? Because, you know, most of them bottle up these emotions. They don't know how to say whatever they're feeling. What is the best approach to get them to say what they feel?
Okay. Thank you. I think the very first thing that should be done, as I mentioned, is a psychological debriefing, whereby a safe space away from the stressor is created so that they can talk. Mother has kept on repeating that they need to talk about their experiences. And it's very, very important to create that space whereby they just talk about the whole experience. What happened? Where were you? What did you do? You may be shocked.
But what really is the best approach? Because we want them to talk, yes? But we can just tell them talk. Maybe they don't want to talk at that particular moment. So how can we approach them in order for them to give you that information that you want as a counseling psychologist, for them to get the help that they need? Yes.
Okay, I think Martha is pointing to a way of remember, this is not a one-time experience whereby you do it once and you have exhausted everything.
Right.
At times, you may want to maybe follow a specific path, thinking that I'll do a debriefing and then I'll have them maybe in a group session and talk about their experiences. And then you realize that at that particular level, the impact of the trauma is not really allowing them to maybe speak about some of those issues. So you may find yourself maybe engaging in what she is talking about in play therapy, and you may still realize that maybe, remember, these are individuals, and in psychology we talk about the uniqueness of every person. So what could be working for one may not be working for another. For example, you may put them in a group setup whereby you just want them to talk and share their experiences. And you may realize that there are those that are really sharing their experiences, but there are those that are not sharing their experiences. So they have entered into what we talk about being numb, a position of just being numb. They have like closed up, they have lost every feeling for anything. So one thing may work for an individual and may not work for another. So there is that point where you may have to maybe, okay, they are becoming different in terms of their response because of maybe there could be someone that has had a series of traumatic events, and to another one, maybe that could be the first event that they are dealing with. So they may not have the same approach, but at the end of the day, they need to be reassured about their safety, because in as much as maybe they have come back to school, remember they could be dealing with this point of being so hyper in terms of being sensitive, overly sensitive, or maybe they don't feel secure. So, you know, it's a journey whereby they need to be reassured. You'll find like some of them even coming with very simple methods of let us sleep in shifts, whereby now these ones will be sleeping and others will be watching and guarding.
Really?
Yeah.
In schools?
You know, at their level, they may come up with so many methods of maybe trying to. You may even hear. Yeah, you may even hear some of them saying, let none of us go to bed without a bucket of water ready. You know, because at their level, they may be coming up with strategies that you are not even aware of. So, but when there's a space that is created for them to just talk, you know, whenever we are doing counseling, and you would be shocked that you can have an hour with a client, but this client will talk for like 40 minutes, because people think that when you go in for counseling sessions, it's a counselor speaking and speaking and speaking and pumping information to you, but it's actually the other way. You get enough space and enough opportunity to just talk and talk. Because through the talks, they're able to express not only their experiences, but they're also to express their feelings, which is very, very important. How did it make you feel? What did you do? Remember, some of them could be battling feelings of guilt, thinking, I did not do enough. If I did one extra thing more, I would have rescued so and so, or I would not have gotten myself injured to this level. So you need to see them as different individuals who are processing different things at different levels. But all in all, there is now the maybe the main bracket or the overall thing that can be adopted as an approach for everybody. Of course, engaging a professional. Number one, you do the debriefing, and number two, you engage them in talks where they are free to express themselves and their emotions as well. You need to reassure them. You also need maybe to lessen some of the burdens they could be handling, because you don't expect maybe a learner that has gone through such an incident, and then they come back to school and they have an assignment to submit the very day. So the whole journey has to be done with a lot of caution, with a lot of relaxation, a lot of techniques in terms of engaging them even in play and all that. But there's something that people can do at whichever level. You need to keep reassuring them that they are safe. You need also to work on the environment. Remember, they are coming and finding debris, so they should not like come back to the same environment. And that is why at times a school will be closed for some renovations, for some repainting, for some relocation of maybe structures. Let's now not sleep in this place. Let's go and now adopt the new dormitory or something like that, just to make sure that there is some overhaul, such that now this person will not feel like they are coming to the very place where their lives were threatened.
All right, Martha, when we say that schools close, of course, to give these kids time to go home and unwind from whatever traumatic experience they went through. But at some point when they get back to school, it's business as usual. Now, do you think at the moment our schools are equipped on how to handle these kids, the way they're processing such traumas?
Not at all. I would say that there's a lot of gaps in terms of handling such children. But one thing that I have seen work is even in a setup, in a family setup, we have seen, like, long time ago, a child used to grow in the larger family. But today we are personalizing, like, I want to raise my own child. I'm not even giving them an opportunity to meet the uncle, the grandmother, and all that. It is becoming more difficult raising children today than it was there before when it was communal, because there are many things that when a children feel safe in the diversity, in the hands of various people, they'll be able to have the confidence and they can be able to open up to many people in different topics or different areas of life. And today we are raising children. Most of us are raising children alone. Like, the child is yours. Like, you're not giving them the sense of belonging to the larger family, which is also a high risk. Because even in a setup, like in a school setup, when they go back, the school may need to engage other people to bring that, to address that. Because sometimes they bring in, like, a mentorship program, institution, or other people that can be able to handle that. Because sometimes when something happens in a child's life, and let's give an example, like it's in a family, and maybe they are not able to talk about it because the person who is igniting that, maybe it's the parent. So they are not able to speak out because they don't feel safe enough to address it to the same person that is hurting. And if there are other areas, if you have an uncle who is close to you, or a grandmother or an auntie, it's easier to go and say, my parent is hurting. It is the same way with an institution. They'll not be able to handle it alone because that is the area that the fire happened, and that is the area that the trauma, that is what caused the trauma. So they may need to engage other institutions or other professionals to come on board to be able to help them in debriefing or helping the children.
Right. Of course, we also have symptoms of PTSD in children after trauma. We have recurring nightmares, flashbacks, and emotional numbness. We have heightened anxiety, and one can be easily startled by reminders of the fire. We have physical symptoms like headaches and trouble sleeping, and we also have behavioral changes such as aggression or withdrawal, which can also occur post-trauma. Now, Peter, what are these symptoms that you think are often overlooked when we're talking about traumas in these kids?
Okay. Maybe the reason as to why the overlooking comes in is because people are so quick to go towards the direction of psychopharmacology in the sense of let's treat what's going on. Do you have a headache? Then they run to the nearby chemist and maybe buy some painkillers. Because they do not understand the connection between this headache and what could have happened. Really, people have never been able to differentiate the various dimensions of wellness. But in summary form, if there's a mental issue that is really disturbing, the manifestation of it will be seen in the physical body, what we talk about the somatic manifestations. So someone is battling serious stress or serious depression or PTSD, it may manifest in physical ways. For example, this person may get headache, this person may actually have problems with the digestion, this person may have very poor appetite, this person may be struggling with sleeping, they just find themselves staying awake. So instead of handling that through maybe over-the-counter medication, they're supposed to, number one, understand the reason why some of those things are happening, because you have put it so well that these are the symptoms that there is a PTSD. So I would actually tell people not to be so quick to conclude that this is a biological problem or is a problem affecting the body, and begin to view it as a problem affecting the mind. And that way, they'll begin the journey towards now having a solution for the same.
All right, of course, time is not on our side, but I want to touch on the age breakdown of PTSD. And we have 10-year-olds. This is a research by Daystar University. 10-year-olds are affected 42.2%, 11-year-olds 49.2%, 12-year-olds 39.6%, 13-year-olds 35.5%, and we have 14-year-olds at 41.7%. These are kids, mostly we can say in primary school. A 14-year-old could be in Form 1 or even Class 8. Now, would you say that what really causes these high rates of numbers like this when it comes to PTSD? Martha, as we wind up.
You know, one of the things is that we are not prepared. Like, we are not engaging with professionals. Like, we are not understanding what it is. So all of us, or majority of us as parents, we are dealing with it as it comes. And in the process, we are doing a lot of mess. But one of the things that I would encourage my other parents is that in as much as we wait for our nation or our state to be able to have the preparedness, can we just reassure the children through the hugs, the warmth of the family, and also having the listening skills? Because once we are able to hear, we'll be able to address. Yeah, it's a lot of warmth, a lot of love. Yeah, we need to share the love.
All right. Thank you so much, Martha, for that. Now, Peter Kimani, we have such high numbers between 10-year-olds to 14-year-olds affected or suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Why such huge numbers, and what can be done to address it?
Okay. I think there's a point I mentioned that people don't begin at the point of PTSD. They begin from stressors, and issues accumulate. Some are having traumatic experiences, all manner of crises in their daily living. And eventually, if some of those things are not well handled, they progress to be termed as PTSD. So really, as we address PTSD, even at the chronic level, we need to know that this is an aftermath of accumulation of so many issues that challenge people's mental wellness that are just ignored. Because the assumption is as long as the child's vital signs are okay, then they are okay. And as I wind up, I would shock you that issues of mental wellness were first articulated by World Health Organization as early as 1958. But the society today is hearing about mental wellness. I mean, some of them for the first time, because people have always had the focus of taking care of their physical wellness. But way back in 1958, the World Health had already articulated issues to do mental wellness. I would actually say we need to prioritize mental wellness in as much as we prioritize our physical wellness, because actually our lives depend on both. And if one is out of order and out of balance, definitely the suffering will be almost the same, in as much as this one is a mental issue and this one is a physical issue. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. That is Martha Wanjau. Martha deals with children with disabilities in her rescue center, of course, and we have Peter Kimani, a counseling psychologist, helping us understand this topic, PTSD in children. As much as we are talking about how the schools are affected after fires, we also want to understand how our kids are affected and how we can help them cope. That's it for our discussion tonight. Many thanks indeed for watching the show and staying with us. Have a wonderful night. My name is Anne Odida, and see you next week, inshallah.